Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about some things that I wish I knew. I wish some people told me back when I was getting ready to go to the Philippines for the first time 3 years ago. There's some things that you're going to need to do before and during your stay, so let's get into it. Alright, so forgive me for being a little bit too for dummies, but this video is for absolute beginners. Some people literally know nothing about travel, so I'm going to start with the absolute basics. We're going to be talking about a passport, and the truth is that this is going to be the easiest part of your journey. You just absolutely need this if you're going to go anywhere in the world. Most places require it. A lot of the places that you're going to have a visa will automatically give you a visa on your passport depending on what country you come from, so it's going to be just an absolute necessity for you to have. There's all kinds of videos that you can go and check out. I'm not going to tell you how to go get a passport. It's going to be different state to state or country to country, but that's going to be absolute number one thing that you're going to need. So one thing that is not talked about enough is that you're going to need a return ticket before you arrive in the Philippines. They want to know that you have a safe way of getting out of the country, or at least an onward ticket, which basically means that you have a ticket that's going to arrive you in the Philippines, and there's going to be a ticket that is going to be sending you to another country. So more importantly than you getting home is you getting out of the country by that 30 days that is given to you free when you arrive. If you are on this list of countries, if that's not you, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, you're gonna need either a return ticket or you're gonna need an onward ticket. I'll make a different video about how you can get, it's not like a fake illegal one, but you can basically rent a ticket for much less than it would cost then to get a return ticket if your plans are in fact to stay in the country. That is what I have done a few times, so it's a possibility. But before I spend too much time on that, I'm going to get into our next one, which is your accommodations. You need to know where you're going to stay, and I'm going to talk about some other documentation that is going to require information on where you stay. You're going to need to know your address. You're going to absolutely need to secure that you have somewhere to stay, and let me tell you why. These are some photos of the place that I used to live in, and you end up in kind of a shabby place like this, and some people would be okay with it, if I'm going to be honest with you. But the truth is that this little murder shack, the kind of place that you hide a body once you're done, murdering someone, this is the kind of place I ended up with, and I was paying what a lot of people pay for a decent place. Without an ACR card, which I'll talk about later, I wasn't able to absolutely make sure that I get a decent unit for a decent price. I actually was overpaying for a really crappy place. One good piece of news in 2026 is that despite gas prices being up, is that real estate is a little bit on a dip right now. So it's a perfect time to lock in a 12-month lease, especially when people will guarantee that the rent's not going to go up anytime soon within that period. So one way I go about making sure that I have a place is booking an Airbnb, and I know that's kind of like simple logic, but they're actually very, very affordable. What you'd be paying for rent, it's only a little bit more per night what you're going to be spending on your entire first 2 months, and I'll get into the ACR card later, but basically it's going to be really hard for you to get a place that doesn't require that. In the first 2 months, so keep that in mind. So the eTravel pass is something that they kind of started during the pandemic. They wanted to make sure everyone had their their shots and their boosters and all that. It's more like making sure you have your accommodations nowadays and you have everything kind of lined up, so you're not just moving there to do some depressing things or end up homeless or anything like that. They want to make sure you're taken care of before you get there, so make sure to fill that out. I'm going to put a link in the description for where you can go do that, but make sure you get that done. All right, so this one isn't technically a requirement, but if you're going to go to a country, at the very least I want to make sure you know some Filipino, and I'll be putting up some lessons shortly here. I'm going to be kind of breaking it down, because a lot of the people that go to the Philippines, they don't have any kind of understanding of what it's like to learn a language, and Filipino is literally the easiest language to learn, in my opinion. Of all the languages I've learned, it has been just the most simple, because the people are so friendly, and not only is it half English, it is also just that everybody wants to help you learn. You make all kinds of friends along the way, and it's just kind of the thing that feeds itself, and you have no excuse not to be fluent if you live there for several years, especially if your plan is to move there. So learn some Filipino and stay tuned on this channel. Make sure you subscribe and like this video if you haven't already, because I'm going to be doing all kinds of stuff like that, showing my love to the Philippines, showing my love to you guys, and making this trip/lifestyle easier for you, if I can do that at all. If there's any words you want to know, kind of getting started with Filipino, comment down below and I'll let you know, or my subscribers can also let you know how you say that word. All right, so before I get into the during your stay section of this video, I'm gonna throw in an honorable mention because I think this is really important, and that is that you need to make sure you know if you're gonna stay there for just a little vacation or if you're gonna be living there, because this is going to dictate a lot of the other decisions you're gonna make in the long term, and you're gonna be better prepared. And it's okay if there's the third option where you don't know yet, you're just looking to explore. No matter what, you're gonna have to spend some time there. And so whether that means that you want to go for a short little vacation, I honestly don't think that a week is long enough. I would say spend bare minimum 2 weeks per city. So if you're gonna go to Manila and Cebu to check out the different vibes, what I would say is make sure that you are spending at the bare bones like a week and a half per city. So that's what I have to say about that. All right, so you're in your place, you have your accommodations, you've got, you found a few places that you enjoy to eat, maybe you've kind of been there for a while, who knows, but you're going to need to set up your Gcash, because this is the best way that you can send yourself money from whatever country you're coming from. I come from the States, and the app that I happen to use, I'm not gonna give a shout out just yet because I want them to be a sponsor, and I'll be reaching out with them shortly. But there's a few options out there, and I'll mention a few that are out there. There is Remitly, there is Western Union. That's a great way to send yourself some money or send it to people that you trust so that you can get a better rate. There's also Sendwave, and there's all kinds of apps out there. There's what was it? There was one that was called Zoom a while ago. It's spelled XOOM. And so there's all kinds of ways to send yourself money. A lot of people I have heard used to use ATMs, which I think that sounds kind of crazy. Would not recommend. There's all kinds of fees. I actually used to do that because there was a bank that gave me a good rate, but I think it's just better to do through some kind of an online remittance transfer. So look into those options that I told you before. One of those is the one that I want to be sponsored. So you'll be hearing from me soon, and any business inquiries, in case I forgot to mention, is going to be on this email right here. So, huge shout out to me. But in case you have any questions or anything like that, that'll be my email. But yeah, so Gcash is going to be that thing that you want to set up. It's pretty much like Cash App or another like Venmo. Pretty much like if you go to any stores, a lot of them will allow you to pay with Gcash. So it's pretty much just like that. In China, it's more like Apple Pay, really. It's kind of like Apple Pay for the Philippines, but there's that kind of digital wallet. So I would highly recommend getting that. You can get that once you have your ACR card, which is what I'm going to get into now. So when you arrive in the Philippines, you get a free 30-day time to stay, and you're allowed to extend that for 29 days. After that 29 days, you're allowed to extend it another 2 months, and once you extend for that 2 months, it's 1 or 2 months depending on how long you think you're gonna want to stay for more. And then after that 2 months, you can do up to 6 months at a time. But that first time you get that 2 months there, you, along with your paperwork and everything of renewals, you're going to get what is called your ACR card. I don't have my old one on me. I would show you and kind of like blur out some if I could. But basically what it means is your alien certificate of residency. This is just your way of telling the Philippines government and other local businesses that you plan on doing any kind of transaction with. If you want to open a bank account, there's all kinds of stuff. And there's videos out there that'll tell you what you can do with your ACR card, but that's important for you to know. Going back to my sub story that I kind of got into before, it's going to be really hard for you to get a decent apartment for a decent price. I mean, compared to the prices of the West, everything is still dirt cheap. But when it comes to getting the best deal that you can that a local possibly could, you're not going to get anything near that without your ACR card. And that's usually one of the requirements as a foreigner. And most of these places are foreigner friendly. But if you want to rent somewhere that is like 10K pesos, which is like $200 a month for, 1 bedroom that has like a nice view of the city, you got giant windows for some sunlight. My place did not have sunlight, which was really depressing. So I ended up, like, if you guys watched my channel before, I just ended up literally not getting anything done because I was so depressed. And I had video ideas, I just didn't want to go anywhere. I was depressed. I wanted to sleep in, make pancakes, and watch Breaking Bad, and that was it. But before getting into the deep, chasms of my psyche, that's just something I want you to know, is that's something you really want to, protect with all of your life once you get it. It is something that is automatic after that second renewal, and make sure that you are doing your renewals, because you can't be staying places illegally. If you guys think that the US is strict on immigration, you should see literally any other country. So keep that in mind. And there's also like arrears that you're gonna have to pay if you don't pay for your visa renewal. So make sure you're getting that stuff done. Banking. So if you plan on making any kind of payments over the long term when it comes to rent or other things like that, typically some landlords will require for you to do some kind of a bank transfer, and you can't just transfer it from your US bank or your whatever foreign bank that you're using in your own country. So you're going to eventually want to set up some banking. There's all kinds of options out there like BPI, BPO, you got all kinds of banks out here, Metro Bank. Go look into the different options for you and see which one you like the most. I'm not going to tell you which one is the best to bank with per se, because I don't know anything about the banks. I just know that you're going to want to have a kind of bank account with them, so that you're going to be able to do things like pay for rent and pay for bills, and if you end up working, paying your taxes and all that. So do your own research, but make sure that you have your banking set up not only in your own country but in the Philippines as well. Okay, so I'm bringing up accommodations again because I think it's just super duper important. I've told you kind of my sob story from before of how things can go wrong if you don't put so much effort into your accommodations. The way that I do this, right, is I will take the first 2 months and I'll use Airbnb, or if I'm feeling really fancy, you guys saw in a different video, if you didn't check it out, with the how I got my room in Cebu, you can get all kinds of staycation deals like that. So for your first few months, something to keep in mind is that what you're going to be paying for your accommodation is not going to be cheap. Like if you only plan to go on vacation, that's just what you're going to be used to, and that's just what the price is going to be. So if you have a trip that you're going to be visiting the Philippines on, then you should have no issue with this, because I already showed you in a different video how you can get a $30 room or even cheaper than that. And what I've actually seen on Airbnb is that they have cheaper rooms even on there. So not only do you not have to worry about getting all your currency exchange and stuff like that happening, you can just pay for it like specifically with whatever currency you already use, and they do that transfer for you, and that's included, like all the fees for that is already included with what rate that you're looking at. So do some research on what kind of room you want to check out, and there's also going to be other videos online and eventually some that I'll make in person on what different parts of town you might want to check out. Personally, I like to stay in Makati or Taguig. That's just my cup of tea. If I'm gonna be staying there long term, then I would love to be staying in Quezon City. That's my personal favorite. But the sky's the limit, and just make sure to do your research on what kind of places you want to go to before that. But vacations aside, if it is your decision that you wanted to stay in the country long term, then just know that your first 2 months are going to be the most expensive 2 to 3 months of your entire stay, because before you secure yourself a decent apartment, you have to live somewhere, and you can't just be bumming around. Don't judge. You like I said, those places are really hard to get, and you absolutely need to have your ACR card to get all of like the good places. But anyway, that's another story. Once upon a time I stayed at one of these places that didn't require the ACR card, that was a little bit more out of the further reaches of town, like kind of the outskirts a little bit, and I wouldn't recommend, mainly because the internet was having so many issues, and in this day and age, especially if you're like the digital nomad type where you make your money online, you need that internet to be working, my guy. So make sure that you are in a spot that is close enough to the city center where you can get your stuff done in that kind of situation. If that is something that you're willing to sacrifice, and you're okay to save that money on rent so that you can find your way to get yourself down to the city and use the internet down there, that's one way to do it, I guess. Just realize in some areas where you cut expenses, there's going to be some expenses that go up when it comes to accommodation. And last but not least, you're going to want to set up some kind of a data plan. How people usually do that is that you're going to buy a SIM card Now you can get this literally anywhere. There are mall kiosks, there are places at the airport that are gonna try to get you on a monthly plan. What most locals do and what I do is buying what is called load on a daily to weekly basis, anywhere from buying 1 to 3 days at a time of data to use up, and then you either use it up too quickly or use it up too slowly, and then a lot of it goes to waste. Or you can buy a whole week's worth at a time that'll last you a week if you're careful with it. Some people only put enough data on their phone at a time to just like go out to the store and stuff like that. They'll put like 15 pesos worth, which is like 30 cents, just to go out to the market in case there's an emergency, someone needs to call them, or they want to use their phone just a little bit but not too crazy. That's one thing you could do. For me, what I like to do is I will turn off my data if I'm at home, and then only use the Wi-Fi that I'm already using in that place, that I can save on the data. And then if I plan on actually going somewhere, then I'll load it just like that. You can get that at the 7-Eleven. So you basically go to the ATM and you enter your phone number, and then you say I want this certain amount of data, and then they'll give you a price. Hi guys, this is editor Johan. I just want to put this out there. If you ever see me in the video where I'm going kind of like this, like just out of nowhere, like I'm pointing my head up and I'm about to explain something, I'll try to do better, but I promise I'm not tweaking. That just means that I'm probably doing a second take and frustrated that the first one didn't go well. So that's what's going on there. I promise I'm not on any kind of like medication or anything like that, but I thought I might clarify. Let's continue with the vid. I don't know exactly what the going rate is right now, but that's what it's gonna kind of look like. You get a receipt, you pay for it at the counter, and then boom, you have internet data. I have horror stories myself of having to go from 7-Eleven to 7-Eleven because sometimes they have like system outages and stuff like that, where my phone data just ran out. So I'm just kind of like wandering around without any connection to the internet in a third world country. It's kind of fun. Don't get yourself in that situation though. Make sure that you are all loaded and ready to go. So the two main companies when it comes to getting data is going to be Globe and Smart. I would recommend trying out both. If one of them works out before you get to try out the other, it's great, but I hear complaints for both of them. There are other companies that I haven't really looked into yet, so I can't give you an honest review on how those work. In the past, I've used Globe, and I think that when I go back, I'm going to try Smart or PLDT.
Simple, Smart Ako.
But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to end this video because I've taken enough time already. I love you guys. Go be the change you want in the world. Go make good financial decisions. Baboosh.